The Christmas family dinner. I prepared a table full of delicious food. As a result, my husband and son couldn't come home because they had to work overtime. A mutual old friend sent me a photo. This is a photo of my husband's son, daughter-in-law, and another woman. That woman was my husband's first love. After a busy day, I was just about to take a break when the phone in the living room rang. I picked up the phone and my son's voice was full of apology. "Mom, we have to work overtime tonight, so we won't be going home." I opened my mouth, but before I could say anything, the phone was hung up. I am 60 years old. People of this age are either at home taking care of their grandchildren or traveling around the world to make up for the regrets of their youth. Now my grandson is in school and my husband has been rehired to go back to work. My son and daughter-in-law also have their own jobs. I am the only useless old man left in the family, and I look forward to their return home for dinner every day. Looking at the table full of dishes, my heart ached. But it is understandable, after all, young people nowadays are under great pressure in life. I hope my husband can come back soon. After a while, my husband called back. "Honey, we have to work overtime tonight and the entire project team can't leave, so I won't be going home for dinner." There was a lot of noise on the other end of the phone and the call was soon hung up. The soup pot in the kitchen was still bubbling, and the aroma of the pork rib soup filled the living room. My hopes were dashed and I was left alone facing a table full of food that tasted like chewing wax. My husband and children are both workaholics and are highly valued in the workplace. But the boss is too unkind. How can he ask people to work overtime on Christmas? I took out my phone, took a picture of the table full of dishes and posted it on WeChat Moments. Today is another day of overtime. The men in the family have worked hard. Then husband and son. My circle of friends consists of old friends with whom I have known each other for decades. When they saw me posting on Moments, they all gave me likes. A mutual friend, Lao Zhang, commented, "Look at Lao Zhao. She has such a good husband." Zhang's wife, Sister Lu, followed closely behind him. "Humph, don't you even look at what Zhao looks like." I read the comments and felt relieved. The banter between old friends always makes people happy. The couple worked in the same unit. Now they have been re-employed after retirement, earning 2 salaries and having plenty of free time. Their only son is studying abroad, and is said to be a very opinionated young man. I browsed my Moments for a while, and what I saw were mostly Christmas greetings and advertisements for health products. One of my friends named Mr. Lee commented, "Working overtime tonight. How come I didn't know?" I looked at the comment and clicked on his profile picture, which was a pink and white lotus. Who is this person? When was it added? I have no impression of it. I opened the chat history again and it was clean, nothing there. He should be selling health products. I moved my finger to his business card and prepared to delete him. Suddenly Lao Zhao's comment appeared below his comment. "Laoli, your project team doesn't work overtime, so we will." I remember now. This Mr. Lee works at my husband's unit and we are colleagues. Last year at their unit's annual meeting, the families of all commended advanced workers were also invited to attend. At the end of the dinner, we added each other on WeChat. We didn't chat afterwards and I forgot about it after adding each other. The two of them started chatting back and forth in my comment section. I was watching the show with great interest when my phone jammed. This crappy phone is always stuck. I pressed refresh and found that the comments from Mr. Lee and Lao Zhao under my circle of friends had disappeared. I refreshed several times in a row but still nothing. The appearance of their comments seemed like an illusion on my part. This time, my husband sent a message. "Zara, Laoli talks too much." I asked him to delete it. I replied with an emoticon of a cat covering itself with a quilt. After cleaning up the dining table and the kitchen, I prepared to watch TV for a while and then go to bed. I sleep less as I get older and I toss and turn in bed unable to fall asleep. Christmas party on TV, but after watching it for a while I found it boring and noisy. This group of young people were making a lot of noise. I opened WeChat again. This time Mr. Lee sent me a photo. The photo should be a screenshot of the Moments. The background is a hotel private room with a total of 4 people inside. Old Zhao, his son, his daughter-in-law, and a woman with silver hair wearing a brown cheongsam. The woman's smile was as beautiful as a flower, her well-maintained face was as white as jade, and she sat on the chair with an elegant posture. Old Zhao sat next to her, leaning close against her shoulder. Behind them stood my son and daughter-in-law. The most eye-catching thing is the line of words written on the photo. 2023 Christmas Commemoration. Matteo of Aria. I suddenly became alert. This Aria, she is my first love. When we got married, he took the initiative to confess his past love history to me. He and Arya were college classmates and childhood sweethearts, but unfortunately when they graduated, they were assigned to different units thousands of miles apart. Neither family agreed to compromise with the other. In this way the two of them got older and older, and in the end Arya took the lead in going on a blind date and getting married, completely ending the relationship. Matteo also quickly went on a blind date and got married to me. Since we got married, he has devoted all his energy to work. He was quickly promoted and given a raise, and then he took me and our children to live in the provincial capital, and Arya is said to have been transferred to another place with her husband. I have never met Arya, but I have heard that she is a kind-hearted and charming woman. After marriage, Lao Zhao never had any contact with her. I don't feel anything about this relationship. This was the case for many people in that era. Free will could not withstand the powerful and cruel reality. How many Mandarin ducks cannot become a couple? From my observation of Lao Zhao, he seemed to have let go of this relationship very quickly and devoted himself to building our small family. I was lucky to have him at that time, so over the years I have always been cautious and careful to take care of his emotions and family. Later when I had a son I didn't dare to relax, but instead I felt even more stressed. I'm afraid my son will have no future. His father was a brilliant and successful person in his field, while his mother was just a mediocre housewife. If he is a failure, everyone will blame me for not teaching him well and for having bad genes. They even compared me with Arya, saying if it was Arya the result would be this and that. Therefore ever since my son can remember I have been strict with him and paid attention to everything. Even my mother-in-law admits that I am a responsible mother. Fortunately, my son was obedient and motivated. He was admitted to a prestigious university and found a good job after graduation. I became a person who enjoyed good fortune in the eyes of my relatives and friends. I also feel very happy. As a result, this photo hit me like a slap in the face. Why on earth would my son and husband on Christmas, a day for family reunion, lie about working overtime and not go home only to have a family reunion with another woman? I can't figure it out. The message from Lao Li made me feel dazed. He told me that this was a post that Lao Zhao had just posted on his Moments. He felt something was wrong, so he took a screenshot and sent it to me. He also told me that their unit does not require overtime for these reemployed professors. I immediately went to check Lao Zhao's circle of friends. It was clean without any photos except a few work messages. I went to look through my son's circle of friends again. Half an hour ago I only posted a photo of the workstation, just like his father, clean. There was not a single flaw. I called my daughter-in-law. When the call was connected, I said calmly, "Qianqian, have you eaten yet? Are you still working overtime?" The other end paused for a moment before saying, "Yes, Mom, she's still working overtime. You eat first. We can just order takeout." I clutched the phone tightly, trying to sound normal. "That won't work. I'll bring you food. It's ready." The person on the other end of the line was obviously panicking. Qianqian said nervously, Don't come. We have very strict security here, and we don't allow outsiders to come in." I won't say any more. "Mom, my boss is calling me." After saying that, he hung up the phone. This time Mr. Li continued to send messages. "Mr. Zhao, and your family only works half a day every day and leaves on time. You may not know this, but he and that old lady go out dancing every week." I stared blankly at Lao Li's message, trying to confirm whether he was joking, but, looking at that photo, I felt again that I was deceiving myself. The accumulated emotions in my heart are sour and unbearable. I began to recall my nearly 40 years of marriage with Lao Zhao, as plain as boiled water without even a ripple. Obviously when I was young I was also a cheerful and lively girl. I like singing, dancing and skating, and a lot of young guys envy my skills. How long has it been since I last went to the ice skating rink? Lao Zhao said he liked quiet girls. In order to please him, I gave up my beloved dance, started cooking, and learned to be a good wife and mother. Later when I had children I had even less time to take care of myself. Years of housework, naughty children, mean in-laws and difficult sisters-in-law have long worn away my enthusiasm. When she looked in the mirror, all that was left was a faded old woman. Old, tired and gray, like an antique thrown in an old house. Arya in the photo is so lively and bright. Old Zhao, who is usually serious, smiles like a pug in the photo. It seems that he doesn't dislike lively and cheerful girls, he just doesn't like me. No wonder I always feel so distant from him, like a rat peeping into other people's lives. Mr. Li sent photos of Lao Zhao and Arya dating over and over again. At a glance it's amazing that so much can be saved. Those photos were like slaps in the face, slapping me hard on the face, even though I thought my life was peaceful. Everyone says I am a blessed person. Is this my blessing? I clicked on every photo. They danced, cruised, fished, and attended seminars like two old lovers. All those who don't know the inside story say they are a perfect couple. Insiders have a different explanation. Like-minded people, childhood sweethearts, soulmates, and silver-haired lovers. That's right, they gave this immoral relationship a romantic and shameless label, silver-haired lovers. Scholars always like to whitewash the truth and use words to cover up the dirty facts. The two cheating adults were touted as the regret of the times by people with distorted values just because they were old. Looking at those photos made me feel sick and want to vomit. Looking at the photos, I tried to recall what I was doing during those times. While they were dancing, I was running around the hospital getting medicine for my son. While they were boating on the lake and talking about their ideals in life, I was tiredly dealing with my difficult sister-in-law. While they were drinking tea, playing chess, and enjoying their leisure time together, I was washing his underwear and socks. What a bitch I am. The most hateful thing is my son, whom I have devoted my whole heart to. They actually betrayed me too. Every time he saw his father going out, the father and son would smile at each other tacitly. I was like a fool, thinking it was normal for a father and son to keep some little secrets from me. I didn't expect it to be this big secret. I calmly asked Mr. Lee, "What are you going to do by telling me this?" Seeing as how he collected these photos, it must have been a long-planned event. It has been more than a year since Lao Zhao was rehired. Why did he choose to announce it at this time, instead of saying it earlier or later? Mr. Lee is quite frank. Your old man and I are competing for a project. Do you understand? Lao Zhao's work involves state secrets and I don't know much about it. I can't help Mr. Lee with his request. Seeing that I didn't react, he immediately jumped up and said, "Aren't you afraid that I will send these to the leaders of the unit?" I looked at his message like I was looking at a fool. Whatever. Then block and delete the dragon. When Lao Zhao came back, the lights in the living room were not on. I sat in the dark living room as if blending into the endless darkness. In fact, there has been no light in my life for a long time. With a click, the light in the living room came on, and only then did Lao Zhao see me sitting on the sofa. "What are you doing? Have you eaten?" I stared at him, hoping to see the guilt on his face, but there was none. He glanced at me, put on his slippers, and went to the study. The shoes were scattered all over the floor at the entrance. I subconsciously wanted to go over and tidy up, but as soon as I stood up, I thought of the photo again. In the photo, Lao Zhao and Arya were pressed tightly together, and the same smile stung my eyes. I sat down again. After a while, the son and daughter-in-law also came back. The new house we bought for them was in another community, but they didn't want to live there, so they rented it out. "Stay with us temporarily." The son took off his scarf and kicked his shoes all over the place. This habit is exactly the same as his father's. I have taught him countless times but failed to teach him well. The daughter-in-law glared at him and said, "Put your shoes away. Mom will have to work hard again later." The son replied with a smile, "It's okay. My mother has nothing to do anyway." The young couple was playing and joking as they passed by the living room, preparing to go back to their room. Seeing me sitting on the sofa, my son was startled. "Mom, why didn't you say anything? You scared me." I looked at the child I had raised, and I still had a glimmer of hope in my heart. I smiled and asked him, "What did you have for dinner when you came back so late?" The son's eyes flashed with guilt, but then he said nonchalantly, "It's just some home-cooked food. Mom, let's go to bed. I want to eat zilongbeo tomorrow morning." After saying that, he took his daughter-in-law back to the room. I got the expected answer, but I wasn't angry at all. According to my youthful temper, I would have slapped him by now. The next morning I got up early and took a taxi to the nursing home. My best friend when I was young, who had no children, was sent to a nursing home by the community after she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. The dean told me that my best friend had been awake a lot recently, and she was probably not going to make it. "If you have anything to say, please say more." Looking at my best friend in front of me with a head full of silver hair, and as silly as a child, my tears finally flowed. My husband's betrayal, my son's incomprehension, and the grievances and pain in my heart had nowhere to vent and no one to talk to. When I was young, I could drink, dance, watch movies, and cry to my friends. At 60, all I have left is this silly friend in front of me. It wasn't until this moment that I realized what a bullshit silver-haired love is. In the second half of life, friendship is the most precious thing. If we really die on the same day of the same month of the same year, I would rather die with my bestie. Seeing me crying, my demented best friend suddenly reached out and wiped away my tears. Zara. She tilted her head and looked at me like an innocent child. I cried and held her hand. It was warm, just like when we were young. Since I got married, I became Lao Zhao's wife, my son's mother, and my grandson's wet nurse. I lost my name and myself. Over the years she is the only one who remembers that my name is Zhang Yingzi, and she is the only one who calls me Yingzi. Hey Yingzi. She became happy and clapped her hands. Why are you crying? Who bullied you? I'll beat him up. I straightened her clothes and shook my head. No need. I'm grown up now and can fight back by myself. The friend frowned and asked, is it that bastard Mateo? I looked up in surprise. How come she still remembered Mateo? My best friend was playing with her fingers, occasionally uttering some fragments. It turns out that the reason why Lao Zhao and Arya broke up was not because their parents disagreed, as he said. It was that Arya had an unexpected pregnancy and the child was not Lao Zhao's. Arya went out of town to give birth to a child, and Lao Zhao quickly found someone to date and get married. And I am the unlucky guy, the one who takes the blame. What's even more frightening is that the reason he found someone to marry so quickly was that he wanted to legally adopt the bastard child born by Arya. Unfortunately, that bastard was born dead. Only a very few people knew about this, and my best friend also heard about it from her parents. Her mother was a village doctor back then. So this is the reason why Lao Zhao was so anxious to marry me. I felt sad and wanted to ask for more details, but my best friend became confused again. She had completely forgotten about me. After leaving the nursing home, I received a call from Lao Zhao. On the phone, he ordered me as usual. Zhang Zara, where did you go so early in the morning? You didn't even make breakfast. I was so upset that I replied to him angrily. Don't you know how to cook? You want eat without me at home. After saying that, I hung up the phone. Not long after, my son called again. Mom, where are the dumplings I ordered? Didn't you buy them? What should I eat in the morning? Each and every one of them is so confident. Mom, you sit around at home all day, not doing housework or taking out the trash. What on earth are you doing? I looked at the dumplings I had bought and suddenly didn't want to take them home. I replied, I'm going to feed the dog. After saying that, he hung up the phone and gave the steamed bun in his hand to the old man who was collecting rubbish. When I got home at night, all the lights in the living room were on. Old Zhao and his son sat on the sofa as if waiting for me to open the court. Mom, where have you been? Why are you running around at your age without telling us? What if something happens? My son looked impatient and started to scold me as soon as he saw me walk in. Since he got married, he has become more impatient. It was just a minor rebuttal before, but now it has developed into indiscriminate accusations. It won't be long before you start cursing. When I thought of my best friend in the nursing home, my heart felt cold. It is said that raising a son is a preparation for old age and storing grain is a preparation for famine. How can I rely on a son like this? I am still my best friend. When she is gone, who can I rely on? I changed my shoes and kicked their scattered shoes aside. I went out to see your sweet aunt. What's wrong? Is there something wrong? I poured myself a glass of water and sat down at the table across from them. There was an open takeout box on the table with soup spilled all over the table. I turned a blind eye and drank the water calmly. Lao Zhao realized that something was wrong with me and frowned slightly. Zara, what's wrong? I pulled out a stack of printed photos from my bag and threw them at the father and son. The fluttering photos are like countless fragments of life. Each one is stained with my blood and tears. You mean working overtime? Are you working overtime at someone else's dinner table? Who are you and your son related to? The son picked up the photo impatiently. Mom, it's just a meal. Why are you acting like this? Aunt Lu has finally come here, and she has been friends with Dad for many years. Why are you jealous? When Lao Zhao saw those photos, he was stunned at first, then suddenly stood up. He pointed at me angrily and yelled at me for being crazy. You, Zara, we have been married for 40 years, and I am 65 years old. What else can there be between her and me? He paced around the living room like a squirrel that had lost its pine nut. I want to find someone to vent my anger on, but I don't know who to choose. In this family, he is the king, his son is the prince, and I am the only useless old maid. He habitually takes it out on me, and even uses the name of love to say, we've been friends for so many years, and you still interfere with my meals. Aren't you being too nosy? The son also chimed in, Mom, these are all normal social interactions. Dad has always been innocent. You should learn from Aunt Lu and stop hanging around the stove all day, being jealous. The father and son sang in unison, as if I was the only sinner in this absurd relationship. My dissatisfaction and my resistance were labeled as willful and unreasonable. I shouldn't have emotions, I shouldn't have demands, and I shouldn't be a woman with a temper. They stand from a man's perspective and ask me to understand men. Then from a woman's perspective she asked me to learn from other women. I really am. The last bit of hope in my heart was dashed and I was calmer than ever before. I took out a divorce agreement from my bag and handed it to old Zhao, whose face was red and his neck was thick. What's this? Let's get a divorce. Lao Zhao, sign your name. I didn't want to waste any more time, so I handed him the paper and pen and went back to my room. The son snatched the divorce agreement, tore it into pieces and ran around the room like a headless fly. From his perspective, this is ridiculous. His parents are getting divorced at their age. He could foresee what kind of ridicule he would face when he went to work tomorrow. His wife, mother-in-law, brother-in-law, childhood friends and friends all make fun of him for having parents who are getting divorced when they are old. He felt that his rights were challenged and he suffered a great loss. He grabbed my hand and firmly expressed his disagreement. I pulled my hand back and glanced at him. I don't agree. You are so old, aren't you ashamed? I'm not asking you to think about me, but think about your grandchildren. My grandparents are getting divorced at such an old age. He will be laughed at if he goes to kindergarten. Old Zhao fell down on the sofa and didn't say a word for a long time, but he quietly pricked up his ears and listened to the noise here. It's great to have father and son fighting together in the battlefield. They are all waiting for me to soften my heart. This trick has always worked. It has always been like this. In order to take care of my children, I took the initiative to resign and become a full-time housewife. In order to let Lao Zhao concentrate on his work, I went to take care of his paralyzed mother in bed. For my son's future, I took the initiative to take on all parenting work. I'm always compromising. I am always soft-hearted. This damn soft-heartedness has trapped me for my whole life. They knew exactly where it hurt the most and pinched me hard. I couldn't cry out or shout out. I could only endure the pain silently. Why? I started packing my things. My son panicked and grabbed my arm. Mom, are you serious? I don't speak. He began to use threats and inducements. It's just a few photos. For someone of Dad's level, this is already pretty good. How will you live without my father? Besides, Tong Tong still needs your pickup. I finally see the clear picture of my good son, the good son whom I raised with my own hands. In my heart, I actually tacitly accepted that I was an appendage of his father, a daughter that had no ability to survive independently. She is a housewife who only cares about her husband and children. I drew my arm back and told him very seriously, I'm not jealous. Nor am I acting out of anger. I just think you and your dad are disgusting. My son looked at me in disbelief. I then proceeded to break his confidence. I have been with your father for 40 years. In order to give you a prosperous environment to grow up in, I gave up my job and hobbies and devoted myself to helping you and your son stabilize the rear. As a result, your father and his first love were not in an intimate relationship. While enjoying my care, he was also having an affair with her. I looked at Lao Zhao not far away, and all that was left in my heart was anger. I have wondered countless times why I have been with such a person of no moral integrity for so many years. He is like a dog that cannot be fed well. He licks other women's fingers as soon as they beckon him. I slapped myself hard. I hate my own vision being married to such a fickle person for 40 years. The moment I saw you guys reunited at Christmas, I just wanted you and your son to get as far away from me as possible and stop disturbing my life. After saying that, I quickly packed my clothes and simple luggage and left this cage that had trapped me for 40 years without looking back. The news that Lao Zhao and I were getting a divorce eventually spread throughout our circle of friends. Every day someone takes turns calling me, and they all advise me to just be patient. I was accompanying my best friend in a nursing home and I blocked those who advised me against it one by one. My best friend was awake less and less often, and most of the time she was asleep. I took the trouble to wipe her face, comb her hair and change her clothes, hoping that she could leave in a dignified manner. My son and daughter-in-law come to persuade me every day, and bring their little grandson with them. The chubby little grandson took my hand and asked me why I didn't go home. I stroked his little head and said with a smile, "This is Grandma's home, and the one on the bed is Grandma's sister." The little grandson was a little confused as Grandma was clearly at another home the day before yesterday. He looked up at me and asked me in a baby voice, "Grandma, are you happy?" I nodded happy. The little grandson clapped his hands. "Yeah, the teacher said home is the happiest place." The son and daughter-in-law stood by with grim expressions. I turned a blind eye. Arrange all the property for the grandchildren and tell them not to use it unless necessary. After seeing my best friend off, I plan to buy a car and go on a road trip. For so many years my activities have been limited to 3 points and I have never left the provincial capital. I also want to go to Tibet and Xinjiang to see the beautiful rivers and mountains of my motherland. In order to get a divorce as soon as possible, I hired a lawyer and gave him full authority to represent me. I thought I was the oldest client he had ever dealt with in such cases, but the lawyer told me that in recent years there have been a lot of divorce cases involving elderly people. 70 of the lawsuits were filed by women. He also told me that women have a longer average life expectancy than men, and generally in old age it is women who take care of men. Nowadays women also have social security pensions and at worst minimum living allowances, so they no longer need to rely on men for a living. More and more women are awakening from their marriages and deciding to start their own silver-haired life. The day I saw my best friend off, I met an unexpected person. Arya asked me to meet her at a coffee shop. Arya, who is 3 years older than me, looks 10 years younger than me. She was wearing a purple cheongsam and half-high leather shoes. Her well-maintained face had a kind smile and her whole temperament was refined. At first glance, she looked like an old-school intellectual. Each strand of his silver hair was clearly visible, and it was obvious that it had been carefully groomed. She retired from a high position, has money and free time, and a loyal bootlicker, which is completely different from me. She ordered me a cup of coffee with a smile. I frowned and looked at the coffee in front of me. Tasted bitter and I never liked it. When we were young, saccharin was expensive and we all loved to eat sweets, but when we grow up we all love to eat bitter food. She looked at me inconspicuously and I looked at her. Time has left no trace on her. She still has a good figure and fair skin. On her wrist is an emerald green jade bracelet which makes her look even more noble. On the other hand, my hands have become as dry as tree bark after years of housework, and the clothes I wear are the common old people's clothes, which are loose, have no shape, and do not show any temperament. His face was covered with traces of wind and frost. Sister-in-law, I came here this time just to explain this photo to you. She took out the photo that brought out my emotions. I looked at her expressionlessly. Arya took a sip of coffee and explained slowly. I'm sure you've heard about what happened between me and Lao Zhao. I laughed. Is it about you being the youngest and the third oldest? Her face froze, her facial muscles trembled, and it took her a long while to force a smile. We are just old friends who get together occasionally to chat. I'm alone here this Christmas, and Lao Zhao was afraid that I'd be lonely, so he decided to come over to my place to liven things up. She stirred the coffee, her voice neither hurried nor slow, as if she was telling a moving story. I feel sleepy when listening to them. Why do these scholars always like to talk in a roundabout way? I have to go look at cars later and I really don't have time to play charades with her. I interrupted her. If you have something to say, just say it. I don't have time. That's right. There's really nothing going on between me and Lao Zhao. Don't be angry. I was so annoyed, I said angrily. I'm not angry, you wanted him and now I'm divorcing him, you should take over. I have something else to do. I'm leaving now. After saying that I picked up my bag and left. I don't even want old Zhao, so who would care about the third one? What they think about each other is none of my business. I called Lao Zhao. Mateo, the court session will start tomorrow. Don't forget. I thought that was pretty much the end of it. I didn't expect that my son would edit the story between me, Arya, and Mateo into a post and post it on the website. This post not only attracted a large amount of attention from the senior community, but also had a breaking circle effect. Young people also love to read this kind of melodramatic story that spans centuries. Our contemporaries expressed their understanding and attributed these regrets to the times. They wrote a lot of regrets and stories that made them miss their youth. My first love and I were also forced to separate. There is no other way. The times force us. My first love never married for my sake. I was forced to get married and have children, but I still love her in my heart. When I read these disgusting remarks, I just feel that our generation is really toxic and bad. Young people are not easy to fool. A few words can tear apart the fig leaf of regret, of unrequited love. Haha, what a forced third child. So disgusting. I have no choice but to have many children and grandchildren. I am really enlightened. The older generation is still the best. What is the problem of this era? It is the lack of responsibility, irresponsibility, cowardice, and cowardice. She is entangled with the third brother. What sin did the original wife commit to meet this pair of scumbags and bitches? Some people even came out to refute the parent theory, era theory, and policy theory. Liang Shambua and Zhu Yingtai got up at night and slapped these people. Is it harder for you than them? The West has Romeo and Juliet, but we have been producing only adulterers for 5,000 years. The son tried to speak for Lao Zhao in the post but was criticized to pieces. He didn't expect that no one would buy his father's account and Arya was scolded hundreds of times. The third one. Old green tea. White lotus. TSK. Green tea is still brewed this way even when it's old. Does your mom know that you are so protective of your dad? You are such an ungrateful bastard. Good fellow. Your mother raised you, but you empathize with your father. After several attempts my son was forced to delete the post. But the news of this incident had spread all over the city, and all of Lao Zhao's colleagues and friends knew about it. This relationship which he had always been proud of, and had lasted for more than 40 years finally became like dog shit stuck to him that still smelled no matter how he washed it. Everyone was talking behind his back about how disrespectful he was to his elders. After the post incident Lao Zhao became obviously much more irritable. He had already torn off his gentle and refined appearance, and began to reveal his true face full of desire. Perhaps in order to give Arya a sense of identity the divorce was completed quickly. Old Zhao signed the agreement promptly and I got every cent I deserved. After 40 years of marriage we parted ways amicably. Amid my son's puzzled gaze I sold all my real estate and gold and silver jewelry, and started a cross-country road trip in my newly bought car. Nowadays more and more people are traveling by car. And I quickly found an organization. When I was taking photos with the colorful Danxiao Lao Zhao and Arya got married, my son posted photos of their wedding and wedding banquet on his circle of friends. All the people who came were old acquaintances and they were all chatting and laughing wishing the bride and groom a happy marriage. My son sent me a video of the wedding banquet and told me, "Mom, you are so willful. Dad and Aunt Lu are together. They are a perfect match." I didn't even click on the video and directly blocked my son. My teammates were waiting for me in the distance and our next stop was Turpan, Xinjiang. I haven't eaten the grapes there nor have I taken photos in Uyghur costumes. I took pictures of the scenery during my trip, wrote them into diaries, and posted them on social platforms. At first everyone thought I was putting on a show and posing for photos. After all, people of this age should stay at home and take care of their grandchildren. How could there be such vitality as mine? There are also many people who are planning to travel to fight fake travel. I met many sneaky travelers along the way. After they truly understood it, they actively helped me promote it. It's true that I'm an old man talking about the youthful vigor, and a real silver-haired inspirational old lady. One girl was so inspired by me that she decided to take her mother out to see the world. Unconsciously my behavior has subtly influenced some people. Then this part will influence more people. Who says people with gray hair can't pursue their dreams? As long as there is a road under my feet I can set off. After half a year I have traveled to half of China. Fortunately I have a pension and although the money is tight along the way it is enough for me to live on. I don't have to take care of an old man, nor do I have to serve the next generation and the next generation. I find that I can't spend all of my retirement money. It turns out that the price I paid for pursuing my dream was so low. Who is stopping me from leaving? One day when I was chatting with a few foreign travelers a phone number I didn't know called me. On the phone, Lao Zhao's voice was very tired. "Zara, where are you now? I'm sick, can you? The caregiver is irresponsible and even beats me. Can you come back and take care of me? I'll give you 5,000 a month. No. I'll give you 10,000. Just take care of me like you did before." I thought he was crazy. Just block this number. Do you know my value now? It's too late. Whoever wants to earn this money can go ahead and earn it, but I don't want to. Later a mutual friend called me and told me about Lao Zhao's current situation. He and Arya got married. They did live a harmonious life for a while, but Arya can't cook, clean, or wash his underwear. The house is a mess, with dirty clothes piled everywhere. Arya has always maintained the good habit of not doing housework. She orders takeout for meals and asks the hourly maid to come to her house at a certain time. Actually, this is fine as their retirement savings are enough for them to spend. But Arya and her ex-husband had a son, a reckless second-generation rich kid, who was expelled from school early on for stealing and fighting. When he learned that his mother could still marry up when she was old, he immediately moved into Lao Zhao's house with his family. He had a little boy of 5 or 6 years old who screamed and made noise day and night. People upstairs and downstairs complained to him, and old Zhao went to apologize to them with a smug face. Neighbors who had known each other for decades became enemies and never spoke to each other again. One day, the son and daughter-in-law brought their grandson back to visit their grandfather. The little grandson was beaten by Arya's grandson and almost blinded his eyes. The son got very angry and both sides had an unpleasant argument. Arya's pension is only enough to support herself. Her son and grandson all ask Lao Zhao to give them money for support, and they make a scene at home if he doesn't give them money. Old Zhao was tortured to the point of being physically and mentally exhausted, and he fell to the ground on his way to work without noticing. The doctor diagnosed it as a cerebral infarction. The situation is hard to say and depends on the follow-up treatment. The family savings had long been given to Arya, and Lao Zhao could only rely on the medical insurance card from his workplace to treat his illness. Many out-of-pocket medicines cannot be reported and the prognosis is not good. When he called me, his hands were no longer under his control. A mutual friend advised me to go back and visit. After all, we have been a couple for 40 years. I told this story to foreign travelers as a joke. One of the 70-year-old ladies laughed out loud. Ha ha ha, you are not his wife now. You are so lucky. Yeah, I'm so lucky. After going astray in life for 40 years, I can finally get back on the right track. How can this not be considered a blessing? The photo that influenced my destiny was kept in my diary. Whenever I start to feel soft-hearted, I take it out and read it. Fortunately, it hasn't been flipped much so far. After traveling for more than a year, I have updated my travel diary more than 300 times. A car brand asked me to do promotion saying that my vigorous vitality is very consistent with their brand tone. Their main point is to set off directly without fear of age. I cooperated by shooting a video, and just like that I earned my first pot of gold in life. Later, more and more people paid attention to my diary, and I received a large number of messages every day. Some of them are housewives like me, trapped in their homes and unable to breathe. There are also confused young people today who don't know where their future is going. There are also many middle-aged people who have lost confidence in marriage and family and want to find a breakthrough. I suddenly realized that my experience seemed to be able to help some people. I started learning to answer questions from fans. I don't preach or give advice, I just talk about my feelings and thoughts. We are simply blinded by the current predicament. Sometimes, just listening quietly can have a miraculous effect of clearing the clouds and seeing the sun. The media contacted me one after another and said they wanted to interview me. The temptation of fame was right in front of me, but I still refused. My first half of life was not a good example, but at the time it was exactly what I wanted. It's just that the direction was wrong from the beginning. No matter how hard I go, no matter how hard I try, I can't reach the right destination. I told my fans that in life we should not only keep our heads down and pull the cart but also look up and see the road. Lao Zhao called me many times later, but I still avoided him. My son and daughter-in-law also came to me and asked me to go back and take a look, but I directly refused. Arya has long since shed her elegant and intellectual exterior, revealing her true self, calculating and tired, just like any ordinary housewife. Even fairies who enter the castle of marriage will have their skin peeled off, let alone you and me. She kept a tight grip on Lao Zhao's salary card and did not allow his sons and grandsons to take even a penny. As for Lao Zhao, she just made sure he was alive. Go hungry twice in 3 days, change diapers once every 2 days, and slap the baby if he doesn't eat after being fed. The son felt sorry for his father and took him home to stay for 2 days. In the end, he almost divorced his daughter-in-law and sent Lao Zhao back. After all, they were a legal couple, so Arya didn't dare to abandon Lao Zhao. Some friends have gone to see Lao Zhao, and when they came out they all shook their heads. The once promising young engineer has now become a paralyzed old man who needs someone to take care of him. He was placed in the utility room, sitting in a wheelchair, staring blankly at the window in front of him. One look is enough for a whole day. Arya started dressing up again, wearing a well-fitting cheongsam, and going out every day to dance square dance with other old men. The house has completely changed. Lao Zhao's study has now become Arya's grandson's children's room. The guest room of the son and daughter-in-law was also occupied by Arya's son and daughter-in-law. Apart from Lao Zhao, there is no trace of me in that house. I took out my phone, took a picture of the table full of dishes, and posted it on WeChat Moments. Yechi is a small villa far away from the big city with a big yard and friendly neighbors. I have a dog and several cats, and I volunteer at a nursing home in town every week. I have a good relationship with the director. When I get old and confused, I will sell my house and go directly to a nursing home to spend the rest of my life. Now I am 65 years old and have been wandering outside for almost 5 years. Friends around me all say that I look a lot younger and don't look like someone of this age at all. That's right. You don't have to serve an old man or take care of grandchildren. Everyone looks young. Lao Zhao is no longer in my life and all that is left is joy. When my grandson grew up a little he contacted me on his own initiative and wanted to come and see me. I drive my little grandson around and he and I are very close. My son and daughter-in-law have now come to their senses and want to get along with me, but unfortunately, I am no longer the housewife who has never seen the world. I stopped devoting myself to them and focused more on myself. It was only after they left me their old nanny that they began to face real life. The child is not easy to bring up. The older he gets, the more independent he becomes, doing housework that seems simple but still feels easy if you do it for decades. They quarreled a lot and finally went down the same old path that Lao Zhao and I took, the road of no return called marriage. None of this has anything to do with me. As I said, my life is always on the road, looking forward to my 70th, 80th, even 100th year. You can also be so free and easy and happy until old age.